Good afternoon, everybody. This is a further discussion on the delta issues we're having with Thinkorswim and OptionVue. I did a lot of research and so forth, and I was just going to share what I dug up. I've talked to Thinkorswim and OptionVue. Of course, they both claim their default models are correct, but we're going to take a look at why the difference is there, and I'll also show you, if you want to, how you can correct your OptionVue model to be much closer to Thinkorswim, because we've got a ton of settings in there. And I'm also going to show you, or just talk about, why we may not want to do that. So first, let's go over, whenever we have a situation like this, we want to know why it's happening, and then, once we know why it's happening, we want to know, well, how can we use it to our advantage? Because I don't know that's anything that we're going to be able to fix, and it doesn't look like it's anything that anybody wants to change. So first of all, just to be clear, when we look at our Thinkorswim models, we have this model here, which I cannot pronounce. We have binomial model and the Black-Scholes model. Doesn't really matter which model you use. It is not going to change your delta significantly. So I'm thinking the Thinkorswim, unless somebody has other information on how to change the model, is pretty much how it is. Maybe there's a setting somewhere else, I'm not sure. OptionVue. We have our model in here. We have Yates, Black-Scholes, Cox, Ross, Rubenstein, and it doesn't really matter here which one you use necessarily. You get very minor delta theta changes or delta changes, no matter which one you use. What does matter is when we take a look at our standard model versus our true delta gamma model. This is my best interpretation or my understanding of what goes on when we're talking between these two models. Is if you look at your analyze page, your true delta gamma is going to give you your Greek readings as if the price was at the line, or its theoretical value where it's supposed to be. That should be your true delta gamma number. And your standard option is going to give me your delta relative to where the price actually is with the actual values, which, if you could kind of see this in your mind, is going to be a little bit different, because now you're kind of, when you move your price back and forth, if it was to come up here, your delta is going to be different. So the projections are going to come out different. So that's my belief. So if you come in here and you choose the standard model, because we are under theoretical value right now on our position, then we're going to have a delta change. In this case, it's about 2 per butterfly. We're going to go positive 2 more delta per butterfly. That does put us closer to the Thinkorswim model. Still far off of where it actually is, but it puts us closer. The second thing that we can look at is our Sku Curves. And this here, the default on OptionVue is to use combined call or average call put skews. When we do this, theoretically the calls and puts should be the same, but if they're skewed for one reason or another and they're different, then you may get different Greek readings depending on whether you're in a call position or a put position. So if we uncheck this and save that, that cuts us way down to minus 17. If you compare this to, let me advance this forward if I can. No, that's all I have. It's as close as I can get. Let me compare this to our current Thinkorswim, which is minus 10 approximately, and minus 17. Now we're fairly close. I've essentially forced my model into a Thinkorswim model, which is, it's good to know that you can do that. My question is whether you should do that or not. And I can tell you that, judging on the way the positions have been reacting, I do not think we should. I think we should maintain the model as it is in default and run with true delta gamma, combined skews, and this options pricing model, you can use either one because they really make so little difference it doesn't really matter. So we'll put OK. And here we are back to our regular pricing model. So that is more or less the reason for the difference. in Thinkorswim, because apparently, again, this is a bit of a guess, but judging by what I just showed you, I would hypothesize that OptionVue is not OptionVue, but Thinkorswim is using just your standard straight put or call option Greek numbers, which accounts for the difference. So it's good that we get a difference. Now, what do we do with that difference? One thing I should note is these are not always different. As a matter of fact, if you go back and backtest extended periods of time, they're usually relatively close. You're going to get a fairly close OptionVue and Thinkorswim number. And my hypothesis would be when that's happening, the skew between your call and put options, which should theoretically be the same, there should be no difference. The skew between those options is relatively small or non-existent. And when we get a big price difference, we're getting a very large skew between those options, as has been the case for the last 3 months. We've been getting -7 delta per butterfly on the Russell per month, which is a lot. It's almost our whole range on an M3 of adjustment that we have. So that that is very, very significant, and it also accounts for why we've been having issues with the Thinkorswim model. And just so you know, I'm going to continue to use this model. I believe the average, intellectually this makes sense to me too, the average between the put and call is going to be the more correct number. And I say this because as soon as pressure comes into that option, I'm sure that the market makers are going to have to equal out the skews, whatever they are. Otherwise, the traders are going to be able to take advantage of them. So that's the issue there. And that is also why, again, I am leaning towards, or I am going to be using this model, because the price reacts that way, and intellectually it makes more sense to me than what's going on with Thinkorswim right now. And as far as the One software, I do not personally own the One software, so I can only have limited comments on that. But I do know that the actual Delta and Vega have been kind of a little inconsistent when you're looking at either OptionVue or Thinkorswim. That said, I do not know which one is correct. For all I know, maybe one is correct, and OptionVue's off, or OptionVue and Thinkorswim are off, or whatever. I'm not sure how they're doing their calculations, but I do know that they're different, and it's something that you should be aware of. Also, I'd like to note that when you are doing your backtesting and when you're doing your system development, to make sure that you know what model you're using, and make sure going forward when you start analyzing your position, you analyze it using the same model. Because if you're doing position adjustments or relying on a T+0 line that is not using the same calculations that you tested with, then you could be setting yourself up for a problem. Okay, so that is, I think, pretty much what I have here. Going forward, as I said, I am using the OptionVue model, so if something I'm doing in Thinkorswim doesn't make sense, it's probably because I am using OptionVue numbers. I would expect at some point that these come back together and normalize. However, I am keeping an eye on it, and I suggest you keep an eye on it as well. And when we start getting these big differences, another thing I'm going to be looking into in the future is I'm going to be looking into other times when the market's been grinding up, and take a look if we had the same conditions. Did we have the same market skews between Thinkorswim and OptionVue? In other words, were our call and put options skewed excessively? If they were, then that may be another indicator that we can use. We can be watching OptionVue Delta and Thinkorswim Delta and notice when they really start to spread apart. Or even if you're just doing OptionVue, you can be noticing, whether you use combined skews or uncombined skews. If you start to get these major delta differences, then maybe we should be, maybe that means something, like we're going into a grinding up market or something like that. Again, that's just it's something we need to still look into, but it's certainly something worth looking at. Certainly something worth looking at. And as of right now, I got another half hour forward. We have a minus 67 delta on this position. In OptionVue, in Thinkorswim, we have negative 12. So actually the skews have closed up a little bit. We were minus 7 per butterfly. This is down to about minus 5 now, which again I find interesting. So, like I said, think about, be aware that the skew's there. Think about how you can use it to your advantage. If you come up with something, let me know. If I come up with something, I will let you know. All right, I believe that explains the differences. And like I said, we can make the OptionVue match, not completely match, but somewhat match the TOS. I don't think that would be to your benefit. I think the OptionVue as it is the way to go. And that is all I have for now. Have a great afternoon and a great weekend, everybody. I will be entering the October bearish butterfly today. It would probably be a modified entry. It's going to be a guidelines entry because that's the way we're doing it. My live position is going to be, or my larger position, I should say, is going to be a modified entry this month for sure. And maybe we can go over that at some point. But the guidelines entry one will be today. And I will cover that with the weekend update. And that's it for now. Have a great weekend, and talk to you soon. Bye.